Gyomei and Muichiro continue through the castle, sensing Muzan is close. Suddenly, a wall compartment pushes Muichiro, separating the two. He is forced through multiple walls before landing in a room full of numerous pillars. Inside the room, the demon notices him and comments that he looks rather familiar. Muichiro is shocked as he realizes he is now face to face with Upper Moon 1, the strongest among the 12 moons, the Upper Moon Kokushibo. He examines Muichiro Tokito in the transparent world and recognizes something in the boy. Muichiro looks on head on, thinking that the upper rank one is quite dignified and majestic. Muichiro notices the blade at the demon's side and wonders if he had been a demon slayer in the past. Suddenly, Muichiro's hands start shaking with the sword handle in their grip, unable to shake the feeling of being in front of Kokushibo, with his body refusing to battle, something that had never happened before in his entire life. Kokushibo asks him what his name is, and Muichiro tells him, with Kokushibo responding that the Sugikuni name has died out. Puzzled, Muichiro asks him who Sugikuni is, and Kokushibo continues, saying that it was inevitable after so many centuries. The upper rank tells Muichiro that when he had been human, his name was Michikatsu Sugikuni, and then reveals that Muichiro is his descendant. Muichiro's eyes widen with shock, and he refuses to believe it at first, with his mind swimming with questions about the upper rank. Coming back to reality quickly, Muichiro seals himself and prepares to attack, with Kokushibo praising his mental strength, lauding him for overcoming his panic in such a short period of time. As Muichiro swoops forward and attacks him with mist breathing, second form, 8-layered mist, the demon effortlessly dodges in the blink of an eye, appearing behind Muichiro. Kokushibo praises the boy's breathing technique, seeing that his descendant is a mist-breathing user, and then swiftly dodges mist-breathing. Fifth form, Sea of Clouds and Haze, launched by Muichiro. Accurately deducing Muichiro's age as being 14, Kokushibo is impressed that the boy's swordsmanship is so refined at his young age, and his mental fortitude to quell his fear and battle the demon, taking pride in the strength still flowing from those of his blood. Displeased, Muichiro rebuffs the upper rank, saying that if 100 years have indeed passed, then not a drop of Kokushibo's blood remains in him. Muichiro then activates his Demon Slayer mark and performs mist breathing, 7th form, obscuring clouds, a technique that Kokushibo had never seen before, as Muichiro slices at the demon's neck. Kokushibo quickly evades the attack, impressed with the beauty and grace of the technique. Drawing his own blade, Kokushibo performs moon breathing, 1st form, Dark Moon Evening Shrine, which Muichiro is unable to keep up with. As a result, the Hashira sadly loses his left hand, shocked that the upper rank is able to use breathing techniques as a demon. Muichiro quickly attempts to restrict the bleeding from the stump on his arm by tightening the sleeves of his robe with his teeth. He then dashes forward and attacks Kokushibo, despite his injuries, and the demon is impressed at the courage and skill of his descendant. Hashira performs mist breathing, 4th form, shifting flow, slash, but Kokushibo catches the boy's blade between his fingers and turns it on him, pinning him to a pillar. Kokushibo then asks Muichiro to allow him to turn the Hashira into a demon, so that he could serve Muzan Kibutsuji. Kokushibo stands in front of Muichiro, having pinned him to a pillar with his own blade, and says that his heart is moved by seeing one of his own descendants, something he had never imagined. Muichiro stares at the upper rank in silence as Kokushibo continues and says that his arm will regrow once he becomes a demon, certain that Muzan would allow such a thing, given that the other upper ranks had all been slain. Transfixed on his descendant, Kokushibo attempts to stem Muichiro's bleeding, but then says that if Muichiro died due to excess blood loss or if he was rejected by Muzan, then it would be fate. Kokushibo tells Muichiro that this would mean that he was a man only meant to go so far. In the background, sneakily, Genya Shinazugawa attempts to shoot the demon. As he fires, he is left utterly shocked, as Kokushibo instantly appears behind him and asks if he agrees with his statement, slicing off Genya's gun arm so fast that he wasn't even able to notice. The boy looks in shock and attempts to defend himself, but before his hand is able to fully draw his blade, Kokushibo swiftly slices off his other arm as well, leaving the boy bleeding profusely. He sees that Genya has been eating demons and slices his torso clean in half. Muichiro is horrified at the sight and attempts to pull the blade out of himself, but in vain, as he is unable to make it budge. Kokushibo is surprised that Genya is still alive despite having his torso cut in half and tells him that around 300 years ago, there was another swordsman who ate demons just like he did. Kokushibo says that he had killed that particular swordsman by slicing his torso in half. He says that if the same strategy did not work on Genya, then perhaps the boy's weak point was actually his head. Genya tries to crawl toward his arms to attempt to reattach them, as Kokushibo says that he has no reason to allow a fake demon like him to live and begins to slice at his head. Suddenly, he is intercepted by Sanemi Shinazugawa, performing wind breathing, fourth form, rising dust storm, as Kokushibo immediately retreats backward and recognizes Sanemi as the wind Hashira. Sanemi declares that he is the wind that will rip off Kokushibo's head. Genya whispers to his brother, who roughly responds by calling Genya a pathetic little brother, telling him that the reason he went so far as to kill their own mother was that he wanted to protect Genya. Flashing back to a conversation he had with Tanjiro during his Hashira training, Genya remembers that Tanjiro told him he could not smell a tinge of hatred towards Genya. Tanjiro had told him that he did not need to be afraid of his brother because Sanemi had loved him the entire time. Sanemi continues and tells Genya that he should have lived a normal life until he reaped a ripe old age and attempted to make his wife and children happy in return for all the happiness that had been taken from them, their siblings, and their mother. Sanemi tells him that he would have not let a single demon get near Genya, no matter what. Genya tears up and apologizes to his brother. Meanwhile, Kokushibo feels nostalgic upon seeing a pair of Demon Slayer brothers. Enraged though, Sanemi curses at Kokushibo and lunges forward to attack as Kokushibo slices at him. Sanemi ducks and slides between Kokushibo's legs, catches the demon's foot and flips him over, launching wind breathing, first form, dust, whirlwind, cutter at the upper rank without pause. Sanemi matches blades with Kokushibo, who finally draws his sword out for all to see, a grotesque blade with eyes and veins running down the side of its length. Sanemi notes how disgusting the sight of it truly is. Sanemi and Kokushibo go blade to blade, and the upper moon unleashes a moon-breathing, fifth form, moon spirit, calamitous eddy. The wind, Hashira manages to dodge, noting that Kokushibo is able to repeat his slashes without even moving his blade. Sanemi prepares to counterattack, dashing forward, and performs wind breathing, third form, clean storm wind tree, clashing with Kokushibo, but is unable to damage the upper rank. Impressed, Kokushibo praises Sanemi's physical capabilities, knowing that they are at their peak. The Hashira is silently struck at the demon's own prowess, analyzing Kokushibo's attacks and seeing that each slash is accompanied by smaller crescent-shaped blades that change their size randomly over time. Sanemi gets excited at Kokushibo's skills, thrilled, and calls Kokushibo a demon worth killing, launching wind breathing, second form, claws purifying wind. Sanemi charges forward as Kokushibo deflects his attack. He looks up and sees the wind Hashira about to slice down at him and blocks the blow. Suddenly, Sanemi goes straight for Kokushibo's neck with Genya's sword, maneuvering the blade with his right foot as the upper moon narrowly evades. The two continue to battle, with Sanemi matching Kokushibo blow for blow, much to the demon's delight. The intense combat begins to take its toll on Sanemi, however, as the wind Hashira finally slips up and narrowly misses the tip of his swing, missing death by a small margin. Kokushibo reminisces over old battles and thinks back to a fight he had with the previous wind Hashira back in the Sengoku era, and how both of them had improved their swordsmanship by fighting in a similar manner. Suddenly, launching a moon-breathing, sixth form, perpetual night, lonely moon, Kokushibo manages to slice Sanemi's chest and even cuts off all of the surrounding pillars in the room with his attack. With blood spilling from his chest, Sanemi stands up straight and finds slashes running alongside his torso. Kokushibo praises the enemy's skill for having kept up with him for so long, but tells him that if he moves now, his organs will spill out. Suddenly, he tenses up as his pulse begins to race and he is puzzled at the sudden change. Sanemi begins to chuckle as he sees that the effect of his rare blood has even begun to work on an upper rank. With a smirk, he lashes forward and attacks Kokushibo, taunting the demon from staggering as he gloats that his rare blood makes demons drunk off the smell of it as he begins to counterattack in earnest. Sanemi unleashes wind breathing, sixth form, black wind mountain mist, which the upper rank narrowly dodges, shocked to see Sanemi being capable of fighting. Kokushibo guesses that the Hashira is squeezing his muscles to prevent his organs from spilling out and solidifying his blood with his breaths to stem his bleeding. Impressed at the Hashira's immense skill, Kokushibo notes that this is a feat no ordinary human could achieve and begins trading blows with Sanemi. Hashira keeps pushing Kokushibo back, but the demon suddenly stops down on his blade, preventing him from moving it, and then attempts to behead Sanemi. Sanemi pulls out a pistol and blocks Kokushibo's blade with the underside of it before firing straight at the demon's face. Kokushibo defiantly blocks the bullets with his blade and then unleashes a moon-breathing third form, Lonesome Moon Chains. Sanemi vanishes from the range of the attack, and Kokushibo exasperatedly says that the demon slayers just keep on coming as he sees Gyomei, the strongest demon slayer, has arrived. Gyomei tells Sanemi to stitch up his stomach wound and that he would distract the demon to allow him to do so. Sanemi agrees and apologizes for getting into such a state as the stone Hashira steps in to fight the upper rank demon, noting with excitement that Gyomei has refined his body to its utmost limits, saying that he hadn't seen a warrior with this strength in 300 years. Gyomei continues swinging his flail and inhaling deeply the whole time, while Kokushibo notes that the air is being drawn towards him. Finally attacking Kokushibo with his weapon, Gyomei looks on as the upper rank dodges his attack, but he quickly throws his axe at the demon. Kokushibo, who had been about to attack Gyomei, is forced to abandon this idea and evade the axe. He attempts to attack again, but Gyomei unleashes his stone-breathing second form, upper smash, as Kokushibo evades his attack. Gyomei catches him in his chains. Restrained, Kokushibo attempts to break free but isn't capable of damaging Gyomei's chains. The stone Hashira attempts to cut off Kokushibo's head with his axe, but the demon dodges, only losing a lock of hair that is severed. Kokushibo is enraged and charges at Gyomei, attempting to slice off his neck, but the Hashira jumps out of the way at the last second, flinging his axe at the upper rank, but only managing to tear off some of his rope. Continuing his assault, Gyomei swings his flail at Kokushibo as the demon evades yet again. However, Gyomei manages to catch Kokushibo's blade between his chains and pulls on them, shattering the blade. The two face off with stone breathing, fourth form, volcanic rock rapid conquest, and moon breathing, second form, pearl flowers, moon gazing. As Kokushibo's blade finally recovers from the blow it received, he taunts Gyomei by saying that no matter what damage he receives, it will all recover. In response, Gyomei utilizes a technique he had been saving up for the battle with Muzan Kibutsuji, finally revealing his Demon Slayer mark. Muichiro struggles to dislodge himself from where he had been pinned by the upper rank, slowly dragging the blade out of his body with his remaining hand. Muichiro manages to extract his blade and kneels over in pain, wincing. He stems his bleeding and assesses his situation, noting that he would not be of much use with his current injuries and that it would take some time to be able to stop his bleeding, as he had not been blessed with the same physique as someone like Tengen Uzui. Determined to do something, no matter the cost, Muichiro resolves to do his best to defeat Kokushibo and aid those who are still fighting as he grabs his blade and begins to run over to the fight. Muichiro is distracted by Genya calling out to him to get some of the hair that had been cut off from Kokushibo so that he could eat it and recover, as he wanted to fight till the end to be able to help his brother. Kokushibo and Gyomei face off. The demon notices Gyomei's Demon Slayer mark and says it is a pity, noting that Gyomei looked to be at least 27 years of age. He then reveals that all those who had gotten the mark had died before they had turned 25, predicting that Gyomei would die that same night. Kokushibo says that everything Gyomei had worked for up to this point would all go to waste and asks Gyomei if he does not find that regrettable. Silently enraged at these words, Gyomei tells Kokushibo he and the other Demon Slayers had been aware of this story about those with the mark dying before reaching 25, asking what there was to regret about his life at this point. Gyomei declares that no one could become a Hashira with such a half-hearted resolution and declares that Kokushibo's words are insults to him. Kokushibo attempts to explain his views more by saying that he meant the techniques and body Gyomei had worked to hone over the years, and wonders why Gyomei could not understand this. The stone Hashira responds that there is nothing to understand, and that humans understood their dignity was best preserved by living and dying just as human beings. He rebukes Kokushibo further and tells him not to force his pathetic worldview on others and called it the supreme one. Continuing on, Gyomei says that he had noticed Kokushibo had lied when saying no one with a Demon Slayer mark had lived past 25. Kokushibo attempts to deny this but is cut off by Gyomei, who says that there must have been one exception. Kokushibo suddenly jolts with an understanding and remembrance. Satisfied by this reaction, Gyomei deduces that his theory was correct just as Kokushibo darts forward toward the stoned Hashira to slice at him. However, Gyomei is able to block, and as the two trade blows, Sanemi recovers from his wounds after having been stitched up, having also acquired a Demon Slayer mark. Sanemi wastes no time in attacking Kokushibo in tandem with Gyomei. The demon thinks that all the Hashira of the current time are marked with the Demon Slayer marks as two Hashira continue attacking in sync. The demon is surprised at their skilled coordination, while both of them say that they are grateful for the fact that they trained together in the Hashira training to allow such coordination. Muichiro checks up on Genya and feeds him a fistful of hair from Kokushibo, which instantly heals his wounds. As Genya becomes more aware of his surroundings, he marvels at this new speed of recovery and remembers that he still has a fragment of Kokushibo's blade he can eat to gain further strength. Suddenly, Muzan Kibutsuji's voice echoes through Genya's head, asking Kokushibo how many pillars he has defeated before ordering him to not let any of them pass. Genya is further impressed by the concentration of blood that Kokushibo possesses. Meanwhile, Kokushibo continues to battle with Gyomei and Sanemi. Kokushibo knows that the pair must be among the stronger fighters and is especially impressed by Gyomei. He sees that Gyomei's weapons allow him to overcome his blindness by swinging the chains. It creates an echo that enables Gyomei to judge the distance and his surroundings using only sound. Kokushibo declares that his best course of action would be to shatter Sanemi's blade by striking it from the side and attempts to do exactly that. However, Sanemi is able to react, rotate his blade, and force Kokushibo's blade down onto the ground before launching an attack right at him in tandem with Gyomei. The upper rank is impressed as Sanemi slices off more locks of his hair, noting that Sanemi's reflexes have actually improved since he was first wounded by the demon. Gyomei cuts in close and lops off Kokushibo's left ear with his axe before Sanemi performs wind breathing, first form, dust whirlwind cutter, which the upper rank is able to dodge. Working together, Gyomei and Sanemi unleash stone breathing, first form, serpentinite bipolar and wind breathing, seventh form, gale sudden gusts, respectively. However, it is revealed that they are only able to rip Kokushibo's kimono before proceeding to attack the two pillars from afar. They are left shocked by this new range and see that his sword has extended and more blades have suddenly branched out from it. Kokushibo declares that if he is able to defeat Gyomei and Sanemi, then defeating everyone else will be quite easy. Suddenly, Sanemi Shinazugawa is hit by Kokushibo's attack and loses the index and middle fingers of his right hand, cursing his inability to react to the demon strike. Sanemi knows that if it were not for Gyomei using his chain to divert the trajectory of the attack, he would have lost both of his arms. He also sees that the smell of his rare blood is beginning to lose its effect on Kokushibo, realizing that he may quickly become a burden. A crow flies overhead and Kanada Ubuyashiki asks Kiriya if they should send over either Giyu or Tanjiro to assist the Demon Slayers in defeating upper rank 1. However, Kiriya is firm in his belief that Gyomei, Sanemi, Muichiro, and Genya can defeat the demon and orders for Giyu and Tanjiro to continue onwards to Muzan. Back in the battle, Kokushibo unleashes a moon-breathing 7th form, Mirror of Misfortune, moonlit that sends shockwaves at the Demon Slayers from afar. Gyomei is taken aback at the range of the attack as Kokushibo continues to hammer away at the Hashira, this time with a moon-breathing 8th form, Moon Dragon Ringtail that catches Sanemi's ankle and causes bleeding. Sanemi is frustrated at his inability to get in close to the demon's head, having to use all of his skill just to simply dodge the attacks. As the demon lines up another attack, he performs a moon-breathing 9th form, waning moon swaths, causing yet more damage to Sanemi by slashing his back. Gyomei yells out to Sanemi, but the Wind Hashira says to forget about him as Kokushibo attempts to finish him off with a moon-breathing 10th form, drilling slashes, moon through bamboo leaves. However, Muichiro saves Sanemi, declaring that he would not let Sanemi die and that he can still wield his blade with both hands. Meanwhile, Genya looks on from behind a pillar, frozen in fear that he would simply be effortlessly dispatched by Kokushibo again, hating his weakness but still determined to keep his brother alive and help his friends. Genya stays rooted to one spot. He suddenly remembers Tanjiro's words that it was the weakest who had the most potential. Tanjiro had explained how he had been able to turn the tide against Daki and Gyutaro. telling Genya that after a certain number of combatants, people would always prioritize the strongest, and thus, their guard would be thinner against the perceived weaker opponents. Resolving to do his best, Genya takes out a shard of Kokushibo's blade, ready to swallow it and do his best to defeat the upper rank demon. Gyomei attempts to perform stone breathing, 5th form, arcs of justice at Kokushibo, but is interrupted by the moon breathing, 16th form, moonbow half moon. The stone Hashira is frustrated by the upper rank's never-ending wave of techniques and senses that the demon is too quick, picking him off exactly as he tries to fire a technique at him. Pondering what it could be that the demon is seeing, Gyomei attempts to focus and refine his senses, saying that demons are mere transfigurations of the human form and anything they could do, a human could manage as well, declaring that his eyes could see human nature. Gyomei states that he would not be misled. Kokushibo unleashes another attack, and for a split second, Gyomei, to his own shock, is able to see through him and perceive his pulse. Over with Muichiro, he attempts to get in close to Kokushibo and slow him down so that he can create an opening for Gyomei or Sanemi to cut off the demon's head. Gyomei notices this and coordinates with Sanemi to match Muichiro's run and distract Kokushibo from 3 sides, adjusting to Muichiro's plan on the fly. Kokushibo sees this as an opportunity to defeat all 3 of them at once and unleashes a moon breathing, 14th form, catastrophe, 10 men, crescent moon at all the Hashira. All 3 manage to dodge his attacks, however, and Gyomei flings a Juzu bead right into the back of Kokushibo's right hand and allows the Hashira to launch their counter-offensive. Sanemi attacks Kokushibo, forcing him back, and Gyomei cleaves off the demon's right shoulder along with his right arm. Muichiro finishes off this trifecta of attacks by stabbing Kokushibo clean through the abdomen. Kokushibo wonders how Muichiro had been able to dodge all of his attacks while wounded, deducing that this would only be possible if the child was also capable of entering the transparent world. Kokushibo acknowledges that Gyomei had also been able to achieve such a state in the middle of their fight, and had also taken his own eyes into account by manipulating his blood flow to throw off Kokushibo's attacks. Undeterred, since the Demon Slayers had been unable to sever his neck despite their clever maneuver, Kokushibo plans on analyzing their attacks to develop a counterattack and demoralize them. Gyomei and Sanemi charge at him, and Kokushibo prepares to unleash another 16th form. Genya, looking demonic, steps out from behind the Hashira and aims his transformed gun at the upper rank. He remembers Muichiro's advice to not hesitate, and says to himself that as long as he is able to slow down the demon, willing to go down with him, Genya fires his gun. Kokushibo quickly diverts his attack to block the bullets. However, Genya's bullets rebound off Kokushibo's blade but swerve back to attack him on their own. Shocked by this, Kokushibo looks up at Genya and sees that the boy and his gun have transformed, looking far more demonic than before. Suddenly, a large tree grows out of the bullets from the back of Kokushibo, rooting him to the ground. Seeing that these are blood demon arts, Kokushibo declares that Genya absorbed the locks of his hair and broken bits of his sword to acquire demon powers. His attention is quickly diverted as Gyomei and Sanemi lunge at him, causing him to become anxious and fearful. He thinks back to the last time he had felt so threatened, which was almost 400 years ago when he had faced his younger brother, Yoriichi Tsugekuni. It had been the night of a blood moon when Kokushibo encountered his younger brother, who should have been more than 80 years of age at the time. This was incredibly shocking to Kokushibo, as he thought those with the Demon Slayer marks did not live beyond the age of 25. Yoriichi had begun to cry at the sight of his brother and told him that it was heart-wrenching. Seeing his normally reserved and quiet brother showing some emotion had left Kokushibo bewildered. However, this lasted for only an instant, as when Yoriichi grabbed his blade, he let off such an aura that Kokushibo was left stunned and afraid. As Yoriichi charged, he was so quick that he left a slice through his brother's neck before Kokushibo could even react. Seeing that his brother had lost none of his strength, Kokushibo had been enraged, and his old feelings of jealousy and hatred began to well up inside of him once more. Kokushibo wanted to kill Yoriichi, but knew that he would die with Yoriichi's next attack, as even Muzan Kibutsuji had been pushed to the brink when he faced Yoriichi's skill. However, that next attack never came, as Yoriichi died resting on his blade but still standing on his feet. Kokushibo lets out a howl and emits crescent-shaped shockwaves from his body, slicing at all the Demon Slayers. Genya is vertically sliced in half. The demon suddenly grows blades from his body, pushing all the demon slayers back, though Muichiro stubbornly hangs onto his blade, still piercing Kokushibo's torso. Gyomei and Sanemi charge at Kokushibo, and Muichiro decides that he needs to do something to kill Kokushibo so that the other Hashira can save their strength for the fight against Muzan. Muichiro's grip on his blade tightens, and it suddenly starts to turn red, much to both his and Kokushibo's shock. The demon suddenly stiffens up in agony as the bright red blade sears his very cells. Taking advantage of the demon's newfound immobility, Sanemi slices at his neck, and Genya activates a blood demon art from afar at the flesh bullet still inside Kokushibo, causing a tree to grow out of his back. Kokushibo attempts to swipe at Genya, but finds that he is unable to activate his technique. Gyomei swipes at his head with his flail, but Kokushibo resists, having his neck cleaved off. Gyomei then swipes at it from below with his axe, but Kokushibo is able to keep it away with his blade. Somehow, seeing that he is unable to activate his own blood demon art due to the tree using up so much of his blood to grow, Kokushibo looks at Muichiro's blade again and is reminded of Yoriichi's blade. He thinks back to a conversation he had with his brother in the past. In that conversation, Kokushibo had asked his brother what his plans for succession were, as he believed there was no one powerful enough to match them, and worried that their perfect breath techniques would fade from the world one day. But Yoriichi had responded by saying that they were not as big of a deal as Kokushibo was making them out to be, and that there would come a day when those who would surpass them would disappear. He continued, saying that they could reach the end of their days feeling nothing but ease. Meanwhile, Sanemi had jumped and swung his blade down on Gyomei's flail to force it down and chop off Kokushibo's neck. Suddenly, both weapons turned bright red at the spots where they made contact with each other. They finally mustered up enough strength to chop off Kokushibo's neck and snap his blade in two. Kokushibo remembers his brother's words about how their children born after them would surpass them and reach even greater heights. Kokushibo acknowledges the strength and talent of those who had been fighting him, noting how they had not let go of their blades despite their severe injuries, their capabilities of using blood demon arts despite being only human, their persistence despite blood loss, and even managing to turn their blades red, though they were not sun-breathing users. He asked himself what had been so funny about being able to predict such a future. Kokushibo says that the mere thought of losing makes him seethe with anger, resolving not to lose. He manages to stem the bleeding from the stump of his neck, much to the shock of Gyomei, who tells Sanemi to keep attacking the demon to finally end him and not let the sacrifices of Genya and Muichiro be in vain. Sanemi, fired up by these words, unleashes wind breathing, 8th form, primary gale slash at Kokushibo, while Gyomei follows it up with stone breathing, 5th form, arcs of justice. The upper rank manages to dodge Gyomei's axe and slices off Muichiro's sword hand. He attempts to pull out the boy's blade and also remove the stump Genya summoned on him. Kokushibo's head slowly begins to regenerate. He manages to fully regrow a new head, but it is far more monstrous than what he had looked like before. Determined, the Hashira continue their onslaught to defeat the upper rank. As Sanemi charges at him, Kokushibo sees the reflection of his new face in Sanemi's blade, shocked and disgusted at the ugly of his new form. The demon remembers the words of his brother from their childhood, where he resolved to become the strongest samurai in the country after his own brother. Reflecting on these memories, Kokushibo wonders if this is the form of a samurai, and if it is truly what he had wanted. Suddenly, the spot near his stomach where he had been stabbed by Muichiro begins to crumble away on its own. In the split second that follows, Kokushibo is completely and utterly shocked. Gyomei and Sanemi manage to cleave off his new head, leaving him completely unable to use his blood demon art. Still unwilling to lose, Kokushibo attempts to muster up more strength, but suddenly remembers the words of his brother from their final fight. Kokushibo questions his motives and wonders if all of this is what he had wanted from his life and deeds, calling himself a disgrace to life. He acknowledges that all he ever wanted to do was be like his brother, Yoriichi Tsugikuni, and finally disintegrates into dust. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.